California on reparations discussed what that would look like for Black Americans in the state after taking the unprecedented step yesterday on voting who exactly would be eligible. Let me just tell you, this is being looked at by the entire country on this issue of reparations.
You hear that, y'all?
As a model for everybody else. So here's what this panel in California did. They chose to limit compensation just to Californians who are descendants of free and enslaved Black people who were in the U.S. in the 19th century. In a 5-4 vote, they narrowly rejected a proposal to include all Black people, regardless of their lineage.
That's right. Tighten it up.
California's push is the first at this kind of scale after Governor Gavin Newsome, who you see here, signed a bill creating this 2-year reparations task force back in 2020. Steve Patterson is joining us now from LA to talk about this. And Steve, I know there are some developments that are happening even as we've been on the air and as you're sort of reporting this out.
Okay, you guys, this is
emotional debate.
Hallie Jackson NBC News, March the 30th, for educational purposes.
It still is. There's no other way to describe it, just as you described. And, you know, for good reason. We're talking about defining the parameters for generations of systematic oppression. You cannot define what that includes.
And who that includes. Yep.
Exactly. Without, you know, a really inherently painful discussion about this country. So that's what it was. That's what it still is. Hours and hours of debate that included argument and direct feedback from the public with a lot of legitimate concerns. Because if you define reparations strictly as a reckoning for descendants of chattel slavery, then you might be inherently ignoring the ripple effects of slavery, right? So racism itself, segregation, Jim Crow, mass incarceration, redlining, education, things that have impacted generations of Black people, whether they came in a 17th century slave ship or a 20th century cruise ship. If you make those parameters go too wide, then you're going to make a lot of families angry, including people who had no choice, or descendants of people who had no choice but bondage. It was messy. It continues to be messy because ultimately we're talking about a question, not a question of payment, but one of justice. And that's so important to the central argument of what could happen, as you said, in the rest of the country.
And to be clear, this isn't some theoretical discussion, right? Like what the task force decides and who they limit eligibility to, et cetera, is going to this is going to move forward, right? So they've cleared this first hurdle now. Talk about next steps. How do they go about finding some of these people who would be eligible for reparations in California?
Well, that's the big question, right? Ultimately, they went with the existential spirit of why the panel was formed in the first place. So lineage and genealogy, specifically limiting compensation to descendants of free and Black enslaved Black people who were in the U.S. in the 19th century.
That would be us.
The argument is simply that it would hold up better in a conservative Supreme Court or have a better chance of surviving a legal challenge, all, of course, leading to that question of what happens next, and we simply don't know. So now you've decided who deserves reparations based on that lineage. How then do you decide who proves it? How do you prove it? It's not like there were records readily available to freed slaves along with this system of preservation. So for a lot of families, mine included, our history is like a blurry mess, or more likely like a black hole if you go back far enough. Are you going to tell me that millions of Black families should hire a genealogist or take time off work to dig through? Yeah, like can you take time off work to dig through federal documents with what, like cross-referencing your slave name? It's a mess. And then you have to decide what the best system of compensation looks like. Is it a direct payment to families? Is it college tuition? Is it student loan forgiveness?
It's cash payment.
Home buying assistance. We just don't know yet. It's a question that
no taxes, no military service.
In the first place, because again, this is about justice and not just compensation. So it's a lot of aspects.
I think we should not even have to pay these business fees for LLCs.
This is because so many people in the country are watching.
For patents.
It hasn't happened at this scale before. You know, I
that's what I
think.
think.
At the federal level, this discussion about reparations has kind of gone nowhere. But you do have, maybe not states like California, but cities, universities taking this up, right? Talk about some of those moves that we're seeing in the minute that we have left here.
Georgetown University, Boston considering a proposal to form a reparations commission. Rhode Island formed its own commission. Detroit, where my family is, formed a task force. Evanston, Illinois actually became the first city to make reparations available to Black residents last year, but not many people are happy with what they did. So California is really this first and only state to move ahead with a plan like this. And as you said, a lot of other local governments, states, the whole country looking at what happens here to see what they need to do moving forward.
Yeah, Callie, we're always first.
Keep us posted.
All righty then, and I'll let you guys know.
Appreciate it, Steve.
And I've used this NBC as educational purposes. Y'all can go right to it. And I will be discussing this later. Because you know how they do. But I'm really excited. I don't know about you guys. But being right here in California, I've already seen that one family get their beachfront property back. Oh yeah, so California's moving on reparations. It's the CaliGriot. You have a great afternoon.